A stunning victory for the French far-right National Front Party. It came in first in 6 of 13 areas during the first round of regional elections. What's behind this win and how will it change the dynamics of French politics? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Fouliba Thibault. France's far-right National Front Party is reshaping the political landscape after a significant breakthrough in the opening round of regional elections. Condemned as racist and anti-Semitic by the opposition, the anti-immigrant party is set to break the grip of socialists and conservatives who have long dominated French politics. But will the second round of voting cement the party's grassroots rise across France? Well, the National Front leader Marine Le Pen has been tapping into a mood of fear and anger 3 weeks after the attacks in Paris that killed 130 people. She'd been campaigning on the issues of security and national identity. Analysts say her anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant rhetoric may have struck a chord with some voters. Her party's success at the polls is a significant indicator of the political mood in France ahead of presidential elections in 2017. For the past 5 years, President François Hollande's ruling socialists have controlled nearly every province. But as you can see here, the National Front, highlighted here in orange, has made huge gains, winning 6 out of 13 mainland French regions. And Marine Le Pen is on track to take the northern region of Nord-Pas-de-Calais-Picardie, which traditionally has been a bastion of the left. This is significant because the party has never held an entire region. Al Jazeera's Jackie Rowland has more now from Paris.
Jubilation at Marine Le Pen's campaign headquarters. Her National Front has emerged as the leading party after the first round of voting. And she personally has swept the board in her northern stronghold with more than 40% of the vote. It's a political landslide, and she is savouring the moment.
Le peuple s'est exprimé.
The people have spoken, and with them, France raises its head once again. This vote confirms what earlier elections announced, but it's what the official observers still don't want to admit. The National Front is now, without doubt, the first party of France.
Close behind the National Front are the Republicans, led by the former president Nicolas Sarkozy. And he had some words of warning for people who voted for the National Front.
I want to tell those who made that choice that we can hear their worries, but that they won't obtain any answer from a party whose proposals would dramatically worsen France's situation and would create the conditions of dangerous disorders in their regions and in our country.
The socialist leader, President François Hollande, has seen his personal approval ratings jump since the Paris attacks last month. But that popularity doesn't seem to extend to his party. The socialists are trailing, and they say they'll withdraw from the second round in the north and the southeast. For now, the National Front is celebrating. But this was only round one, and the turnout was low at 50%. The second and decisive round will take place in 1 week's time.
Well, let's bring in our guests for today's Inside Story. They're all in Paris. Jean-Yves Camus is Research Fellow at the French Institute for International and Strategic Affairs. He's also the author of the book Les droites extrêmes en Europe, or The Far Right in Europe. Patrice de Beer is political analyst and former editor of Le Monde newspaper. And joining us on Skype is Christian Macarian, editor of L'Express magazine. Gentlemen, welcome all to Inside Story. Thanks for being with us. Jean-Yves Camus, if I may start with you, this is an astonishing performance for a party that until recently was regarded as beyond the pale. To what do you attribute this victory, these results? What happened here?
Well, first of all, the National Front remains beyond the pale for more than 60% of the French people. And this is clearly a hurdle Marine Le Pen will have to face if she wants to be elected in 2 years from now to the presidency. But still, what we have been watching for decades, since the 1990s, is a steadily growing National Front constituency, which mostly draws its support from the fact that the socialist left and the conservative right have been in power since 1980, and the National Front is the only political party of some significance that has never been in power either on the national or regional level. So it's part a vote of those who believe in what the National Front says, and part of a protest vote against the so-called establishment.
Christian Macarian, Marine Le Pen says that this result proves without a doubt that the National Front is now the first party of France. When you look at the numbers, the turnout of Sunday's vote, is this an exaggeration or is this the reality in France today?
I think it is an exaggeration, but it is not completely untrue. In terms of militants, of structure, of organization, the National Front is not the first party. But the result of yesterday show that there is a significant change inside the French politics. Up to there, the National Front was a kind of pillar of the French political life. You were for or against the Front National. It was the center of the scales, the arrow in the middle of the scales, if you wish. Now it is a significant force around which all the others gravitate. And it's much more different. The second thing is very important. I think that it's more than politics. Now in France, nowadays, the political class, including socialists, Republicans, the center, the traditional right, all of them are part of a kind of social class. Being a politician today in France, as being a journalist, and that's for all of us, as being an expert, is to belong to a social class. This social class, called formerly elite, is now rejected by the people, rejected because of a lack of results,
right.
Because we always use the same language, and people want something else, completely different.
So you say a rejection vote, they want something else, but nonetheless, the National Front, you say, is becoming a significant force. Patrice de Bier, I mean, it's important to point out that these were regional elections, and these super regions, while geographically large, are not politically powerful. So isn't this result in a way just purely symbolic then?
Well, these elections are not considered as important by the French voters as presidential or legislative elections. So it's especially now when you have new regions, people are a bit lost. So I would say they are not taking these elections as seriously as presidential elections. And it is an opportunity for them to express their anger. The first party in France is not the National Front. It's the party of disgruntled French people. 30 or more % voted for the National Front. You've got almost 50% abstention rate, and among those people who abstain, you have disgruntled voters from the left, disgruntled voters from the right, who are fed up to see that the left-wing policy has failed on the economic and social front, that the right hasn't succeeded even better, and they're also finally fed up with the fact that they have been seeing the same political faces for 35 or 40 years. Ex-President Sarkozy has been around for 40 years, Hollande for 35 years, and they want new blood, and they think that maybe National Front could provide them with another answer, maybe the wrong answer, but another answer.
So you all seem to agree then that this was a vote of discontent in a way. Now, as Jackie Rowland mentioned in her report, President François Hollande has seen his approval ratings jump for his handling of the aftermath of the Paris attacks. Since his election in 2012, Hollande's approval ratings have been consistently low, making him one of the most unpopular presidents in recent French history. He surged in popularity after the Charlie Hebdo attacks in January to 40%. But as public opinion shifted towards issues like unemployment, Hollande's rating fell again to just 20%, but picked up again immediately after the Paris attacks to an all-time high, with some polls showing that his popularity reached 55%. Jean-Yves Camus, so the government's response to the attacks of Paris just a few weeks ago boosted Hollande's popularity to 50%, over 55% in some cases. Why do you think this didn't translate into greater approval for the Socialist Party?
Well, simply because this popularity rating has to do with the personality of the French president and the way he handled the attacks personally. Many people like the way he handled the aftermath of the attacks, but are not yet convinced about the capacity of the Socialist Party to give appropriate answer to what's going wrong economically in this country. And another problem is, for how long will this rise of popularity last? The president still has more than 1 year in office, and it's not sure whether his popularity rating will remain as high as it is now.
Patrice de Bier, do you think this result is a response to the Paris attacks, that security and the terror threat, rather, is a main concern of French voters today, or are there deeper issues at play here?
Well, security is a very important issue for the French, the second one after unemployment during the last elections. And it is true that what happened last month, the shootings in Paris, have moved a lot of people towards a more security vision of politics. It has raised the image of François Hollande, this is true, but at the same time it has been used by the National Front, which has always been playing on fear, on insecurity, and on the fear of foreign invasion in a way or another. And it is true that it is playing an important part in French politics today.
Christian Macarian, do you agree with that? Do you think that the terror threat, you know, the migrants crisis, the high unemployment in France, all played, I mean, were issues on the minds of the public when they went to vote on Sunday?
Of course, I totally agree. But you must add the protest and the rejection of the elite, of the French elite, because being a socialist or being for Sarkozy is seen from the people, from the popular classes, exactly the same thing. For 3 decades, unemployment is continuing and is a kind of continuity, and there is absolutely no result, no new solution, and also no reform. People are not against reform, and they are against this state of stagnation. You know, nothing moves in the country, and I think the message is clear. They want someone who makes decisions. And François Hollande is not that man from the popular point of view. Sarkozy had his chance, but he lost. Okay. So now they want something else. I'm not sure they are all convinced by the program of the National Front, but do the people only look at this program? I'm not sure of it. They just want a change, a significant change. It's a kind of protest, and this is very French. It's a kind of silent revolution, legal, electoral, but it is a kind of sign of revolution, I think, inside the political class.
Jean-Yves Camus, what precisely is the program of the National Front? Because Marion Maréchal Le Pen, the 25-year-old niece of Marine Le Pen, who did very well in the Riviera region in the first round of these regional elections, you know, she seems under pressure when she's asked about the political program of the party. What is it exactly? And do people sense that this is something that the party is not doing well on?
Well, the National Front has the same platform for decades, and it's a very simple one. The words that it uses are those which the ordinary, average people can understand. It mostly consists of stopping immigration, having France opting out of the EU and the Euro, having some kind of protectionism for French goods, and so that they be spared the concurrence of the foreign market. And it's restoring some kind of pride in French identity, refusing the multicultural society, and of course being strongly, I would say, against the possibility that Islam may become part of the French landscape.
Let's take a closer look then, at the National Front Party, which, as we've said earlier, has been gaining popularity at the polls. It was co-founded by Jean-Marie Le Pen in 1972 with a hardline anti-immigrant policy. He led the party for nearly 40 years until 2011. Le Pen was criticized for promoting xenophobia in France and for his anti-Semitic remarks. He controversially called the Holocaust a detail of history and was convicted after saying the Nazi occupation of France was not particularly inhumane. But it was only under the leadership of his daughter, Marine Le Pen, that the party gained wider support and entered mainstream politics. Since Marine Le Pen took over, the party has done very well in elections for the European Parliament and municipal polls earlier this year. The party now boasts 11 mayors and over 1,500 municipal councillors. Patrice de Bière, there's no denying that Marine Le Pen has made the National Front less diabolical, more attractive. But is it to say, though, that the party has parted with its old ways, with Jean-Marie Le Pen's ways?
Well, you always find the same people within the National Front, hardliner from the right, ex-fascist militants and so on. But Marine Le Pen has a different strategy from her father. One, she wants to win elections and not posture in front of TV cameras. And two, to be elected in the north, which is a workers' area with an old tradition of trade union and so on, she had to modify her policy and give it a more social touch to try to attract as many people as possible. You find quite a number of French people from North African origin who are voting for the National Front because they want law and order, despite the fact that many of their party members and leaders are racist. And then you've got another National Front in the south around Marion Maréchal Le Pen, which is in an area in the Riviera where people are old, conservative, a little bit more anti-immigrants than in the north. And in fact, she has campaigned on two issues, banning the funding of health birth control clinic and forcing people from Muslim origin to wear a suit like anybody else. Her platform is limited to that.
Jean-Yves Camus, there's no denying, I think, that the National Front is attracting a new kind of voter in France. Looking at the second round next Sunday, do you think that they will be able to cement these first round results?
Well, first of all, it's not yet a victory for the National Front.
Right.
In the two areas of North Pas-de-Calais and Provence-Côte d'Azur, it will be a very close race. If the National Front wins this race, it will be obliged to run on a platform that will not hamper Marine Le Pen's presidential campaign, which means that they will probably not be able to implement the most radical part of their platform, because otherwise it would show that Marine Le Pen is very divisive, is very much, it's so much beyond the pale that it will not attract new voters to a presidential campaign. So they will have to be quite soft during the first year and probably implement the rest of their platform when the election, when the 2017 election is over.
Christian Macarian, do you agree? Because in previous years, the centre-right opposition and the socialists have worked together to block the FN, the National Front. But now you have Nicolas Sarkozy, the former president, saying that there would be no tactical alliances in the second round. Is this a good decision? Is this not going to backfire against the socialists and the Republicans?
Well, look at the results of Sarkozy. They are very bad. So if he goes farther in a kind of rapprochement with the National Front, he will lose everything, plus the honor. So what he wants to say, and I think his strategy is not good, but it's the only one, is that if the right wants to stay a kind of alternative for the presidential election coming in 2017, which are the most important elections in France, they might keep a position with no compromise with the National Front. But something is very important to remember. The Front National itself, the National Front itself, had a lot of agreements in the past with the right, with the bourgeois traditional parliamentary right. In a lot of regions, they did that. People forget that, like they forget the true content of the program of the National Front. People don't want to see that. They send once again a very clear signal to the rest of the politicians. We want a change.
Christian,
yes?
let me just ask you this. What went wrong for Nicolas Sarkozy? Because he used to be very good at attracting National Front voters. What went wrong this time around?
Well, his personal factor, his main weakness. People don't like him. It's like that. And you are in a very charismatic election, the presidential election, I mean, in France. So he insists, and the people send him many times they've sent the same message: we don't want you. And the same for François Hollande. François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy have decided together, for quite opposite reasons, to replay the match they had in 2012.
Right.
And this is unacceptable for the voters.
Okay.
And they send the message: don't try to do that again. We don't want to see a second time in 2017 what we have already seen 5 years ago.
Patrice Debier, looking ahead to next week, the second round, the Socialists, the first secretary of the Socialist Party, Jean-Christophe Cambadélis, has said that they're withdrawing from the second round in at least 2 regions in the north and south to try and block off a runoff for the FN, to block a victory for the National Front. Is this going to work, or are we going to see the National Front cement its victory next week?
Well, that's very difficult to say, because the margin between victory and defeat for the National Front and for the Republican candidate we will face them will be very small. They might win by a few thousand votes, a few points, and she might win all 3 regions where she has a chance. And she might as well lose all of them. It will be very, very tight. But anyway, it will be a political victory for her if she wins 1 or 2 regions. But even if she loses them all, she will be back to fight for the next elections in front of 2 traditional candidates who don't know what to do against her.
Jean-Yves Camus, you have the last word. Regional elections are regarded as a launch pad for the presidential elections coming up in 2017 in France. Is it almost certain now, in your view, that we will see Marine Le Pen at least in the second round of the election in 2017?
Yes, on the second ballot, I'm quite sure. But then the question is, can she win the second ballot? At this stage, my answer is no. She will have to gather much more people from both the right and the left end of the political spectrum. But at this point, she will be no winner.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you all for a very interesting discussion. Very interesting to look at the shift that's happening in French politics right now. Jean-Yves Camus, Patrice Debier and Christian Macarian, thank you all for joining us from Paris. And thank you as well for watching. As always, you can leave your comments on the program's page of our website at aljazeera.com. You can also post your views on facebook.com/AJ Inside Story or tweet us at AJ Inside Story. From me, Foliba Thibault, and the whole team, thanks for watching. Bye for now.